I'm Kay, and I am here with a Messy Monday layout for you guys today. And this month we are concentrating on acrylic paint. I'm also playing along with Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches, and today's sketch is by Scrappy Sister Katie Scott, and I will be working with my counterfeit kit that I created for June. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is altering these dragonflies later on. They're from Some Assemblage Required. And then I also have a test cut piece of a wood piece, and normally when I am working on an image, I cut it out in wood before I cut it out in acrylic. So this piece here in the wild is actually only available in acrylic, but I happen to have the test cut pieces right here. And then I also have some flair from Scrap and Happy Studio, and then some more acrylic pieces from Some Assemblage Required. I've got the logs, and then the Wondering tab actually came from the Advent calendar in 2024. I also have some sequins that are uber old from Close to My Heart, the No Worries collection. I don't think I add those to the layout either. And then I also have some rub-ons from the Hike More collection by 49 and Market. I have two little pieces left over, well, quite large pieces left over from the 12 by 12, and then a couple 6 by 8 sheets, some leftover die cut scraps, I guess I should say, and then these cork shapes from Close to My Heart. They also will not be making it on the layout. I think what happened with those is they got set off to the side and I completely forgot them. I have a bunch of metal little pieces. I've got some leaves and some well, actually, most of them are leaves, but some of them are charms and some of them are just metal leaves. And then I've got some rich espresso metallic paint, as well as some Snow White clear acrylic paint. Let me just put that anywhere. And then some sponges as well. I have two of these acetate pieces that also came from the Hike More collection. And then some blue twine that is from Stampin' Up! And some photos of buffalo that I saw on my recent trip to Washington when I went up to the state of Washington with my friend. My base piece will be this Crafty Garden solid number 2, and I'm going to use the lighter side so that way some of the other elements can show up. I have my little tray for all of my paints, and then I'm going to color my dragonflies with these shimmer brushes in Mint, Sage, and Glacier. So that way I give them an iridescent look to, they're not butterflies. Did I say butterflies? They're dragonflies. So the first thing I need to do is remove the masking. And so I use this black tape. It's Gorilla Tape because it is a super fast and simple way to get all those little bits instead of trying to peel them off by hand. I feel like when I peel them off by hand, it leaves a little sticky residue. And so I just go ahead and use this Gorilla Tape and just press it in, and it just magically all comes off. Sometimes I have to lift up, press twice, and things like that to make sure that I'm getting all the little bits off. But other than that, it comes off nice and clean, and you can see the difference between the masking and the real wood. Also, too, if the masking stays on a little bit too long, it starts to take up some of the wood with it once you actually go to take it off. I've seen some people leave the masking on and then just color over it. It does make coloring easier because then your color doesn't get in the wood grain. So either way, whatever you guys want to do with your pieces, you guys do with your pieces. I love the natural look of the wood grain, but for these pieces, I will actually be altering them. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Glacier and color in the wings of my dragonflies. I feel like that was the best iridescent lighter color that I had. I think I have one other color that almost looks clear but has a blue tint to it, and I thought it was Glacier, but I can't remember now. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish coloring these in. Now I do end up bringing this a little bit closer, but if you guys remember, I'm not the world's best to keep looking up at my camera to see if I am where I'm supposed to be. So I zoom in, and then putting together the layout, I do have to let you guys know that I forget to zoom out. So here we go. Let's zoom in. I'm painting the body with my darker blue. I believe this is sage. And so I'm going to just go ahead and paint the body so that way it is, I didn't want to paint it black, but I also wanted it to be darker than the wings because that's what the dragonflies look like here at our in our place. Oh my gosh, has anybody noticed how large the dragonflies are getting these days? I've never seen them that big. They are monstrous. Oh my goodness, but they are beautiful. So it's one of the bugs. Excuse the sorry, dump truck going by. I do apologize. So the dragonfly is one of the bugs that I do not mind tolerating. So here I am doing a little bit of a blending effect on my dragonfly wings from the body out. I just went ahead and I put that sage on the outside, and then I'm going back in with the glacier to go and blend it in so it looks like it gets darker the closer it gets to the body of the dragonfly. And I actually might be using mint, and then I used, oh my goodness, now I don't remember. So here I'm going to go ahead and put some paint inside my little tray, and I'm going to dab in my little sponge dauber and then tap it onto my wood piece. And as you can see, the dauber, if it was flat, it definitely would not have gone into the engraved portion of this wood piece. However, it does go in a little bit. So the key to not getting too much paint is you take your paint and you put it in and you use another spot, obviously, to dab off a lot of that paint because these sponges soak up that paint like crazy. It might not look like you guys have a lot of paint on, but you want even less paint. So you want to dab it off so that way you don't get a whole bunch of paint on your wood pieces, and then it will fill in the engraving or anything like that. So you want to make sure that you barely have any. So here, same thing. I'm sharing with you guys the exact same technique. I dabbed it into paint and then I'm dabbing it off, but then I keep going back into the same spot where I dabbed off the paint. So that way that doesn't go to waste either before I go and pick up more paint from the tray. So I'm just making these little pieces a little bit darker. I felt like they were the wrong color of brown. I always try to start with a lighter color if I'm using cardstock like this. That way I can always make them darker. But if they're already dark, then it's hard to make them black or make them lighter. I can if it's more like the oxides nowadays. I mean, there are lots of other options to make something darker look lighter, which I think is pretty cool. I really do like the fact that we have all of those capabilities now. Okay, so just trying to rub up off all that paint, and it was a little too dark, so I thought, oh, I better not do that. So that'll get covered up. You won't see that in the end. But again, I forgot to, zoom out. So I've already trimmed down my photos. That was a disaster, by the way. Watching myself go and do all the trimming so close and tight was like, oh my gosh, nobody wants to see this. And then also too, I left this part in so you could see how I had the mesh on my layout, but yet when I go to put all of my pictures on, the mesh becomes what looks like one giant piece, even though it is 4 separate pieces. So I really do like replacing Katie's messy background with this burlap looking cut file, or not. It's not a cut file; it's a die cut. So yes, I do like how I didn't need to make a messy background, but yet I achieved a messy background using other elements. And of course, you would see it better if I looked up and knew that I needed to zoom out. It does zoom out, you guys, I promise this. But I thought that it would be nice if you saw how the layout came together. Now, some of my acrylic pieces are 1/8 of an inch, so I'm going to foam back my photos, so that way the mesh lifts up off of the page as well as the photos, and then I can tuck under all of these pieces my acrylic, and then everything seems to be all the same level instead of my acrylic laying on top of everything and it feeling like it's big and bulky and heavy. if you use the foam and you add and elevate some of your projects and then tuck your thicker acrylic pieces underneath, then they don't seem so thick and bulky. So just another little tip there. And then here what I'm doing is seeing where I can, again, make that faux mixed media background by using all of these rub-on embellishments and things like that. So I am going to try and trim out things and use them, because one of the things I don't like to do is put a whole bunch of gorgeous elements behind things. I really do like to see all the stuff peeking out and getting the most out of my embellishments by cutting them apart, and especially leaves and things. If the leaves are mostly going to be contained behind pictures, then I can cut those out and use them somewhere else, or even on a different layout in a different form. So I always try to keep that in mind when I go and put things like this behind a whole bunch of stuff. All right, so I went ahead and I did a little bit of snippets of that twine, and that way I am able to just have a little bit of blue coming out, because there's a little bit of blue in the rub-ons. So I went ahead and just added that. I cut off a little bit of strips, tucked it underneath and behind, and intertwined it within the mesh. And now I am just trying to figure out how to put all of my logs in. And then I realized, you know what, if I'm going to tuck everything underneath this mesh, I can probably go ahead and secure all these photos. It's not like the foam is edge to edge, so I have lots and lots of tucking room, and I'm not worried about it, especially when I need these film strips to stay in place a little bit. One of the things that the film strips are doing is I don't have rub-on in that little gap below, or in between all three of those photos on the left. I don't have something to take that gap away, and I could see it. It stuck out to me like a sore thumb. So these film strips filled that gap beautifully, and then I'm going to go ahead and create a cluster right there as well to take away from that eyesore that I see, even though it's very hard to see it in the video. So now that I've got all of the bulk out of the way, which these wood pieces were the only ones that were the 1/8 inch. Everything else is my 16th inch. And I am going to put in the wild right on top of it. So it does make it a little bit bulky, but it doesn't feel like it's bulky. It definitely doesn't feel heavy when you pick up the layout. It's awesome. I also took this acrylic. Nope, it's not acrylic. I also took that flare and I went ahead and I flattened it so that way it's nice and thin, a little bit thinner than 1/16 of an inch. I love flattening my flare, you guys. It's one of the best things since sliced bread, and I am so glad I gave it a try. I will probably never go back to using bulky flare. And I talk about a lot going back and flattening all of the other flare in my albums, but to be honest, that is a lot. So I don't think I'm going to do it. Okay, last but not least is these little dragonflies. And like I said, I colored them. I love them, but I don't feel like they belong on this layout. I just feel like they belong on a fishing layout or a layout by the lake, something like that. They just didn't feel like they belonged with my buffalo. So that is my layout for today. I truly enjoyed playing with this messy background without making a big mess. Yes, the paint on the embellishments definitely did make a mess, but truth be told, the background didn't, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. And 49 & Market's rub-ons, oh my stars, they make the best messy backgrounds without any effort at all. They do all the work for me. It is fabulous. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Katie, thank you so much for this amazing sketch. I had a blast. Don't forget to check out all the links that I have down below for the series 18 of Christy's Beautiful Life, as well as the Counterfeit Kit Challenge links. And then, of course, I have a playlist for all of my Messy Monday videos. Also, don't forget to check out Janet Fritz's channel. She is Galaxy Girl Creation Creations here on YouTube. She is my partner when it comes to Messy Mondays, and also to, I believe she is playing along with Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches. All right, you guys, again, thank you so much, and I will check you all later. Bye.